Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, first of all, don't get too excited about seeing the engine there. I just put the barrel and head and everything on, put it in, because, well, the carburetor I've been looking at things. I found some bits I've got to modify, knowing how tall the engine is, so we'll go into all that a little bit later on. The other thing is, you're wondering why I'm sitting here in my Spanish knockoff Belstaff. I've got to go out on the tractor. Across the road from me to Main Road is our sort of gravel place for road gravel, salt road gravel. I've got to take the tractor over and get a bucket full, because outside the garage, which it slopes, it's just all the snow that was there, because we've had these couple of warm days, has melted and refrozen. It's just solid ice. I've just been out there with a spit. For those of you who don't know what a spit is, it's a spade, but instead of being sort of oblong, well, it is oblong, but instead of being just a little bit off square, if you like, it's long. And it's for digging post holes and stuff, but we always call them a spit where I'm from. Anyway, to differentiate from an ordinary spade, to differentiate from a shovel. So, I've got to go out and do that, but I was wanting to get this done, so there it is. So what we're going to do this week, as I say, is we've got mods to do. I'll run through them all, but I want to get it so the tank is right. I've got the right electrics World 1, so we've got the bits and pieces, so we've got to make some mountings. They're going to go, everything's going to go under the seat here. We've got to look at where the air filter is going to go. During the course of the week, the fittings for the hydraulics should come, and I've got some stuff to talk about that from comments that I've had. And I think I'm going to order BSA Unit Singles. Peter Quick has a nice chrome B50 exhaust, and he also has foam and covers for the saddle, so I might do that. That's about it, really. I should think that will take us most of this week to get it all finished. So you all go and have a cup of tea, cheese sandwich, put some piccalilli on it, it's my favourite, and I will go and get the tractor and get some gravel and spread it outside to make it safe for little old men like me to walk about on. Right, first of all, I had a lot of comments about where this is mounted and where the hoses go and stuff. So let's just go over that. For any of you out there who've ever built a special, the one thing you come across all the time is that you have to compromise. So a lot of comments I've had over the years when I've been building specials have been about doing things perfectly, and to be honest, you can't often do things perfectly, because we're not designing this from the ground up where everything's going to fit. You're trying to fit things in, you're trying to get things to work. So we've talked in the past about what's the word, diminishing returns, and sometimes you just get to the point where you say, well, this is as good as it's going to get. So here there were a number of things that constrained me. As you know, this top mounting is right on the edge of there, because it was mentioned if I moved this up it would go straight through. Yep, you know, I thought of that, but then thinking about how to mount this was certainly the best I could think of to make sure it was rigid and easily mounted, and you could get it on and off. You know, sometimes you can't help but build things behind things, but whenever possible I try to think ahead and say, well, if ever I want to take this off again, I don't want to have to strip the entire bike. Unlike, say, BSA, who never thought about the fact that you might want to take the rocker box off and not take the engine out. Anyway, there was that. There was comments about maybe I should just cut a piece out of this gusset tube and this gusset plate and what have you. They were all possibilities, and they were all things I thought of, but eventually this was, to me, the best that I could come up with. Don't forget we have the chain line here, which is going to go up and down. You know, there's a reason the mudguard is cut away right up here. You know, if the chain didn't move up and down, they would have cut it off down here. So, you know, we're about out the way of the chain here, but it's something you've got to take into account. So anyway, thanks for all the comments, and there were suggestions of things that I thought, yeah, I could have done it that way, like using countersunk screws on the back of this and stuff like that. But, you know, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So that's that. I was going to mention something else. Oh yeah, I had a comment. I'll just mention this. I had a comment that, you know, I said that the hose I had was metric and these were unified. Well, they're not unified threads really, but they're imperial threads, if you want to call it that way. And, you know, I could make up the pieces. To be honest, at my age, I work on the principle that if I can buy something, I'm not going to make it. You know, time's too short. So anyway, let's get on to what we're going to do today. Right, let me get some extra light on this. Okay, now this is something that was mentioned a few episodes ago when I first said I was going to use this tank. Although these tanks are the same shape and everything, there's 2 or 3 different capacities. There is a difference between the 250 and the 500 tank, and that's because of this. See, you put your petrol tap in there, it's right on this because this engine is so much taller. So this must be a 250 tank. So we've got to do something about this. So let's have a look at it and I'll tell you what I've decided to do. Right, so what we need to do is to have this back here. This, of course, is the other side when it's flipped over. So I thought of various things about filling this up, making a new plug, putting it down there and all the rest of it. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I know what I'll do. I'll cut that out as an oblong, like that. And when it's cut out, what we'll do is we'll just turn it around, and then that's going to be down there. So all I'm going to do is get a cutting disc, cut that out, cut it out. Actually, I might be able to do that with a hacksaw so that the kerf is smaller. And then, as I say, we'll turn it round. Probably have to flatten that out a little bit to be the top bit, or maybe not. I suppose if I make this exactly symmetrical, then it will turn round and the curve will match both ways. So let me go and cut that out. Right, so, pardon me, frog in my throat. There's the hole cut out. There's the piece cut out of it. So that is going to go in there like that. And you can see it's further back than that. So I've just got to tap this a little bit, get our curve right. Doesn't matter all that much, it's underneath the tank. Get it centered a bit more. Maybe I haven't cut this quite parallel sides because it seems to have a bigger gap at one end than the other along the sides. The ends are fine, so I'll weld the ends first. That's fine, we can bridge that gap. That's not a big problem. Alright, let me weld this in. I've got to bend that corner down a little bit. Yeah, it just needs... The bend was further up that way, so I've got to bend it just about there. Not so much bend it as put a little bit of a curve in, and then that'll match the contour nicely. So there it is, moved down, welded in. And the reason the welding isn't very pretty is because this tank is made out of 32 thou material. What's that? It's a 32nd of an inch. What's that, 1 millimeter? It just poof. I mean, you can see I had to fill in a little bit there. It was terrible to weld. Well, at my skill level it was terrible to weld. So there you go. So let's screw a tap in it and see what it looks like on the bike. Right, well, put a tap in here. Put the one tank rubber that I've managed to get there. Alright, lots of space now. Okay, that's that job done. You can have that tap around anywhere you wanted it. It'll even go on the inside, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, it'll even go on the inside, there's enough room. Alright, so that is that done. Oh, here's something, hang on a second. Now this is something I come across every time. These are made in the UK, because it says Wolverhampton on them. Right? Fine, you say, that's nice, that fits. Hold on 1 second while I put in the cork gasket that comes with them. Actually, I've been playing around with this trying to cut it down, but anyway. Oh. Won't go on. The cork gasket is so thick that every one of these I buy, I take the cork gasket out, make a rubber one, and then they'll go in. See how thick it is? Oh, come on. So, nice, I say, made in the UK, nicely chromed and everything, but that gasket is just so thick it won't work. Alright, lunchtime. Next thing we're going to look at is where to put things. Now you can see here, I've mentioned before, about how much space there is, because this is the same, this frame's the same dimensions for the 250. There's absolutely no space at all up there. That's why one of the mods with this is to take all these studs out, put Allen bolts in. Then at least, because as it is, you've got to lift this so that that joint comes right up to here, basically, to clear the studs. So you've got to lift it that high, which you can't. So if you replace them with Allen bolts, you can take all them out, and then you could drop the engine a little bit and you can shuffle it out. So we have a number of things that we've got to fit. We decided not to use, let me walk around the other side. Won't take me long, it's not that far. Right, bought a new carb. What size is it on these? It's 32 millimeter. So that goes on there. There's a little spacer to go on, so it actually go to about there. We've done away with the big box here, so all there was from that was a rubber tube, about a year long, went from here to there. So there isn't enough space to put a filter out here, and the frame up here is, my finger's pressing on the frame, so you can see there's maybe half an inch. So I'm not even sure we could just put a pod filter straight on there. If we could get a filter with a neck that was a couple of inches long, hang on again while I get my little ruler, then that would be fine if it was long enough so we could put it inside here and the filter was back here but the neck reached there, but we won't. Actually, I was trying to look for one today on the K&N website, and every time I went to the K&N website it would open and then in a couple of seconds it would just disappear. I tried 3 or 4 times from different ways and it still did it, so I'll try again tonight. So what I think we're going to have to do with this is make a little extension, screw on extension, to take it back, inch and a half, and then we can put a filter on, and that would be about here. So we have various electrical components. I'm walking back round. popped that on there so I could see where the wires would go. Now, they're going to come out the front of the case. It's not like the Triumph or that where they go out there. They come out the front. So I could run them up the front like that and mount everything at there, because you may remember on these they had this big alloy box here. That's why on the other frame it's got a couple of brackets on, and all the bits and pieces, the ignition coil, the ignition switch, flasher unit, the rectifier, everything was inside that box, which made for a nightmare of wires at the front end actually. So I only have a couple of things. I'd half thought about making a much more aesthetically pleasing box for there, or there's enough wire here to go through there and up into here, and we could mount everything up there. So what is there to mount? Well, we've got an ignition coil, which normally we would put up here, but if we put it up there, I don't think the other wires will reach. But as you can see, it's got plenty of that. Oh, interesting thing. You remember when we were talking about spark plugs on, what was it, the Triumph? I said I was having difficulty finding non-resistor ones because that's what it needed. Well, it says specifically on the instructions with this unit, which is a digital one, I think the other one was analog, to use a resistor plug and a resistor plug cap. So that solves that problem. Alright, so there's that. There is the CDU box. Now the CDU box has got to go to that coil. Right, so it'd be a stretch if I put it there, and I don't want to start cutting these wires. Actually, that wire, I'll tell you in a minute, isn't going to go to the coil. So there's that. There is that, which is the rectifier regulator. And there is the little power pack thing. So I'm thinking, because I've got these two nice through bolts here, we're going to make a mounting to go there, and we can fit these to it. That'll go there, that'll go there. Might put the ignition coil at the front. Anyway, let's think about that some more. So what are we doing about this orange wire? This orange wire goes to the coil, right? Now, this is like working with a magneto. In other words, there's no ignition switch. We haven't got a battery or anything like that. So we've got an ignition switch at the front. What I did with the C15 was I put the ignition switch on this wire. That way, when the ignition switch is turned on, if you kick the engine over, nothing's going to go to the coil, so it's not going to run. When the ignition switch is turned on, we'll complete the circuit back to here. So what we'll have is this orange will go up to the ignition switch and then come back and go to the coil. And that way, when it's turned off, the engine won't run, so you can turn it off, take the key away. We don't have to worry about a battery. There's no lights or anything until the engine's running. So let's think about mounting all this stuff up here. As I say, we're going to need a certain amount of space for the air filter. But then these are all quite small. Look, I mean, that would actually go there, because the saddle's mounted here and here, so the saddle's up there, so that's completely out of the way of the air filter. And then, of course, we can point it round the other way. If you're worried about wires, we can point it that way. And then this one could actually go there. Now those wires I've got to reach these wires, which obviously they will easily do. So I think a nice alloy plate there, mount that to it, mount that to it up here, and the little other thing can go on the other side of this, the little power pack thing, and that'll be everything. Right, so let's take some measurements and we'll make an alloy plate for there. Here we go, look, more brilliant BSA planning. These are longer because this goes on there. This is the thing for the valve lifter. There's a little valve lifter arm in here. The cable end goes on that. So that goes on there. So basically the only way you can get that on there is to put it on before you put the engine in the frame. But, you know, we don't have all that much room and you've got to try and get it in with this great big thing stuck on the top of it. So we are definitely going to replace these, fortunately the UNC at this end, with Allen bolts, 5/16. Anyway, the reason I was trying to fit that on there was because the 250 one just mounts straight up because it doesn't have a valve lifter. So that goes on there, and then yeah, there's a plate goes from there to there. The reason I was trying to fit it was because I was thinking that I might be able to mount the coil on there, but don't think that's a good idea. I could mount the coil in there, except that wire's no problem, but that one is. I don't want it dangling down where you can see it. Don't want it that close to the engine. I think we're going to end up fitting this at the back. Yeah, no, this is going to be too much of a mess on. We'll put it at the back. I was forgetting something here. This NX frame, when I stripped it down, had these on it, see? The rectifier and everything like that. It's even got a little cutaway for that thing it had. And there was one on the other side with this. So I might just be able to drill some holes in them and use them. Let me go and take them apart. Well, spot a look for once. The holes lined up for the rectifier. There was a hole there for me to mount that, and there was a hole that I could mount that. The only thing I've got to do is drill 2 holes over this side to mount that on there, and we're in business. The breather thing I'm not worried about, because I was planning to put a sort of more modern PCV type valve on, so we'll rig that up later. This is all much more important. So, and I was able to use the original 2 long bolts, which is very nice. So let me drill a couple of holes and mount the ignition coil, and we can move on with our wiring. Right, I've mounted the ignition coil on the other side, but I was just looking at this, and you know how the wires come out the front there. I didn't like the way they came up here, so I've just run them underneath, and I found, here they are, that they just nicely reach. Actually, they might even be a bit longer if I put them around this side. See, there's the ones that go to there, and these yellow ones are really long. So that's nicely put them out the way, and when there's the bash plate on, they'll be nicely protected. Fucking perfect. Alright. Now we'll look at some of the other wires we've got to put in. So, new day, and it's not starting out too well. Postie was late yesterday, so I didn't get this stuff till this morning. Here's the new hose, which I carefully measured up against the old hose. Oh, 8 inches too long. The hell was I thinking about? And the backlight came and I don't like it. Just looks a bit big, chunky. I don't know, gotta think about that. I could change the light unit on the back for something smaller maybe. I don't know, it's just annoying. Alright, let's get on with something else. I'm back because fortunately I am not going insane. I just measured that, which is the one that was on. It's 22 inches. I just checked the invoice, it says 22 inch hose. Just measured this, it's 33 inches long. Gets to you after a while. Right, well, I've finished stamping around and cursing, so now I've had a look at stuff, and I've decided that it's not, well, that I don't like. It's this great big thing. Just doesn't suit at all. But now I've taken it off and looked at it, that is just the right size for the Lucas light to fit on. That I find to be quite alright. Not overly keen on seeing the bolts, so I think what I'm going to do is make a cover. Just make it exactly that size so that we bolt this on, and then the cover goes on. Well, it's just flat, but and then the light bolts on, and when the number plate's on, it'll hold everything together and you won't have this hole or this depression here and see the bolts. What do you think of that? Let's make this cover and see where we go from there. Because that was the thing, when I looked at the picture of it, I thought, oh, that would, you know, go nicely on there. Hang on, let me move you around slightly. Hold on to your seats. Whoops. There you go. See, I think it goes on there quite nicely. With that on, I think that'll be fine. Right, let's make a cardboard template of this bit and then cut out just some 16th alloy will do. These holes aren't exactly in the right place for, where will put that? There it is. Fortunately, I don't have a good one of these Lucas lights. That's the back of it, and the holes just don't quite line up. See, it fits on, well, perfectly, but that hole and that hole are the mounting holes, and they're just too close together. Funny enough, it lines up perfectly with the two holes where the long bolts that hold the actual light cover on go. But that's nothing. If we're going to start modifying this, I can weld those up and re-drill it. So let's see what it looks like with a little bit of a cover on it. Right then, so there's what I've got. See, that just covers that over nicely. So when that's on there, that'll look like that. And that'll go on there. I think that is fine. Paint the whole thing in gloss black to match the headlamp and one or two other things. As I say, I'm going to weld these holes up for now, and then I'll buy a new one of the, what are they, L564. Got a new one of them. I can mark that, drill my mudguard. Yeah, that'll work fine. I'm happy with that. Right, so there it is bolted on. And then when we put that, this is going to be good trying to do this cack-handed. Let me do the one on this side first. There we go. I need to put one on just to hold it in place. And that will go on like that. Number plate. Light. Fine, perfect. Next job. You know, this YouTube channel might go down in history as being the first one where the presenter had a nervous breakdown on film. Just been having lunch, and while I was there I was going to order a backlight. So I found a Lucas P L564, and then I noticed something. So I came up, took the one off the C15, because what I noticed was the bulb sticks out the back. That bulb doesn't, and it suddenly struck me that this thing is curved down. It won't go in. I mean, that's at the back, and there's a good ½ inch. So I could make up a spacing piece. I could put that one on. Actually, the more I look at it, the smaller it looks. I don't know. Of course, I've welded these holes up now. I really don't know what to do with this. Is that too big? Anyway, let me think about it. Right, well, I messed around and mopped things up and checked, and in the end I decided the light wasn't too big. I mean, if I had the big alloy thing, or if I had the long thing here, and actually the long one has, hold on. Right, I'm back. I'm pretty sure the long one has one of this type, which is actually bigger, plus when it's on the alloy thing that I was going to use, or even if it's on the other thing, it's, yeah, that looks fine, and it saves me ending up in Bedlam, or St. Luke's for those of you from the Middlesbrough area. Alright, so what's next? I guess we could run some wires from the front to the back now. Right, well, I've thought of two more electrical components. I mean, I know we have the indicators to put on yet, but actual sort of thing. One is, of course, the indicators need a flasher unit. And being LED, you've got to get an LED compatible flasher unit, because you know most flasher units work with a bimetal switch that heats up, and because it's a bimetal strip, when you heat it up it bends one way. So that's what you hear clicking. It goes click and then turns off and click. But of course that's far too much amperage, wattage I guess, well amperage really, for the LED bulbs. So they get a little electronic type one. They're not expensive, but anyway, I've got one that will go under the seat. The other thing we need, of course, is a horn. So I had a rummage around, and I have a brand new 12 volt horn, which been wondering about, and I think what I'm going to do with it is mount it on that plate there, on the gusset plate. So what I'm going to do, because we don't want to be messing about trying to put nuts in, I'm going to make a piece to go behind this, which will weld on there and which will be threaded. So we'll weld that on and then just put a bolt in, and that'll be fine. It's nicely out the way, it's handy for the wires, everything should be good. So let me go and make, basically all I'm going to do is make a spacer, but instead of having a straight hole through it, it's going to be threaded. So let me go and make that. Right, I'm back. I didn't take you over there because all I did was found a piece of 1 inch round, drilled it and threaded it, and then cut a piece off. So we're going to weld that on there like that, and then that can just get bolted to it. So let's drag the welder over and we'll stick that on there, and then that will do us for the day because we have got quite a lot done. Actually, I've had a thought for the carburetor as well. Let me tell you about that. So I was thinking about the carb, and as I say, what I was planning to do was to make just an extension that's screwed on and then put the filter in here. And then I got thinking, you know, an extension and then a filter on the end of it. So I thought to myself, why not get the rubber piece that goes from there to the standard airbox, and then make a piece of tube that fits inside that rubber, and that we can put a K&N filter on the other end. And then on that piece of tube we'll just stick a couple of little arms that we can put on some brackets here. So it'll bolt in here, air filter will go on that end, so the air filter's got a good solid mount, and the rubber tube will go there. So this doesn't have anything hanging on the end of it, and the K&N is on a good solid mount, so we're not getting this great big long thing. I think that'll work. Alright, let's do the horn. Alright, I drilled a 5/16 hole in this so that the bolt could go through a bit, and I think 3/4 inch bolt might be. Yes, it is. Hang on. Right, I've used a 1/2 inch one. So let's pop the tank on. Make sure we've got plenty of space. This is going to go in there like that. Just so it's missing the tank. And there's our wires. Come up, fine. Of course, that is going to be well clear of that. So that's not too bad, not too shabby. As I've been fiddling on and walking backwards and forwards and continually walking past that backlight, it's fine. Don't think it's too big now. Don't know what I was thinking of earlier. Alright, so that's the horn done. We know where we're going to put the flasher unit. We've got the backlight on. The only other thing to fit is the indicators, and we can start wiring it all up. But once again, that's enough for today. Right, last job for this week is we're going to make the threaded part for this mounting. Now, do you know, I've just searched from one end of the workshop and the shed to see if I can find some of these wide, I just bought that one, tank mounts. You know, I had about 6 or 7 oil-in frame bikes, and I can't find any anywhere. Found all sorts of stuff I didn't know I had, even some old BSA spares in a cardboard box. But anyway, what I've done is I've used that. They're slightly different front to back, they've got different part numbers, but I've used that to sort of make that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that on so. Right. That's it. And we're going to measure from down there where this piece will screw down to up here, and it is 2 3/4 inches. Right, 2 3/4 inches, and then from there to the top of there is where that's going to go in. So 2 3/4 inches. Get something that's a little easier to read, and that's 1/8. So that's 2 7/8. Actually, now I think about it, that's not the measurement I want. So it's 2 3/4 inches to there, which is basically the bottom of this, and that thing wants to be just shorter than that. So it's 2 3/4 less 1/2. So and then we want to screw in a bit. So let's say we make it just under 2 inches. We can always shorten it if it doesn't tighten down. So let's make one just under 2 inches long. So I've got a piece of 1 inch round here. I'm going to make it out of alloy. So all I'm going to do is cut a piece 2 inches long, just under, say, 1 7/8. Then we're going to drill it and thread it 5/16 fine, because that's the thread for the piece in the bottom, and it's also the thread for the piece that's going to go in the top. And then at the bottom part here, we're going to mill on a couple of flats so that we can tighten it down. Okay? Right, well, drilled it, tapped it, 3/8 fine, cut it to the right length. So now what I'm going to do is put a couple of flats on. So this is 1 inch. I'm going to make it take a 3/4 spanner. So I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off each side, and that's wider than the head of the spanner, so that's all right. Okay, let's have a look, see. So just touching. I can't move that quill accurately enough, so I'm going to do it up with the knee. So let's right. I'm just going to flip it over and do the other side. Right, that's that done. Couple of foul maybe, but that's fine for what we need. Let's try it on the bike. Right, let's see if we got it right. That rubber's on. The green foam bit actually is inside the tank. Oh, I've not got the tank on yet, can I? There's that. that on good and tight. Now we'll put the tank on. I bet that back one is thinner than the front one. Right, let me jiggle this around. And the hole. Put a little bit of a chamfer on that to help it in. There we go. It's catching on this little breather pipe here. That's more like it. Nearer the centre. And that's on. Good and solid. Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot to put the O-ring on. Never mind. But that goes down nicely. Alright. That's going to be it for this week. Probably do wiring next week. The people I got the hydraulic parts off, I sent them an email and they apologised and they're sending me a 22-inch one and the return postage label to send them the long one back. So that's it. Providing I don't get completely snowed in tomorrow, although they're only talking about 5 to 8 inches. I will see you next week, so until then, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.